What if I told you that there's a secret curriculum they don't want you to learn? For over 200 years, the education system has been designed to do one thing: create obedient specialists. Workers who know just enough to do their job, but never enough to question the system. But here's what they're terrified you'll discover. Every breakthrough that changed the world came from minds that refused to be caged. Da Vinci didn't choose between art and science. He married them and created flying machines 400 years before airplanes existed. Einstein didn't separate physics from philosophy. He revolutionized both and unlocked the secrets of the universe. Jobs didn't pick technology over design. He fused them and built the most valuable company in history. They were the last of a dying breed, the Polymaths. The forbidden minds who saw no walls between worlds, no borders between brilliance. And while society spent centuries convincing you that jack of all trades, master of none was an insult, something extraordinary is happening. The specialists are becoming obsolete. AI can now do what took specialists decades to master. But there's one thing AI can't replicate: the human ability to connect seemingly unrelated ideas and create revolutionary breakthroughs. The Renaissance isn't returning, it's already here. The question isn't whether you're smart enough to join this revolution. The question is whether you're brave enough to become what the system fears most: ungovernable. Welcome to your liberation. Here's a statistic that will blow your mind. 78% of Nobel Prize winners actively engage in arts as hobbies. Compare that to the average scientist at just 2%. Coincidence? Absolutely not. The polymaths I mentioned weren't accidents of nature. They were cognitive rebels who discovered what I call the connection code, the ability to steal ideas from one field and revolutionize another. But here's the conspiracy. You've been deliberately programmed to think small. From age 5, they ask, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Not, "What do you want to learn?" Or, "What problems do you want to solve?" They force you to pick an identity box and lock yourself inside it forever. Here's why. Polymaths are dangerous to the status quo. When you can think across disciplines, you see patterns others miss. You ask questions that make experts uncomfortable. You create solutions that disrupt entire industries. You become ungovernable. Steve Jobs put it perfectly. Creativity is just connecting things. But here's what he didn't tell you. Those connections are learnable skills, not magical talents reserved for the chosen few. The dirty secret? Your brain is already a polymath machine. Neuroscience proves that your brain doesn't recognize the artificial boundaries between subjects. Those divisions exist only in textbooks and university departments. Your mind naturally seeks patterns and connections. It's been trained out of you. But what if you could get it back? What if you could think like Tesla, who combined electrical engineering with intuitive visualization to invent the modern world? Or like Richard Feynman, who used strip club observations to solve quantum physics problems? The polymaths didn't just learn differently. They thought dangerously. And in our hyper-connected world, that dangerous thinking isn't just an advantage. It's the only way to survive what's coming. Forget everything you think you know about learning. The education system taught you to memorize, regurgitate, and forget. That's not learning. That's intellectual slavery. Real polymaths operate on a completely different system. I call it the cross-pollination protocol, and it's based on how the greatest minds actually worked, not how textbooks say they should work. First principle: aggressive cross-training. While everyone else studies subjects in isolation, polymaths deliberately blur boundaries. Da Vinci studied water flow to understand hair movement in paintings. Tesla visualized electromagnetic fields as dance patterns. Darwin studied Malthus's economics to understand natural selection. This isn't random, it's strategic. When you force your brain to find connections between unrelated fields, you literally rewire your neural pathways. Scientists call it cognitive flexibility. I call it becoming intellectually unstoppable. Second principle: the Feynman theft method. Richard Feynman was notorious for stealing ideas from completely unrelated fields. He watched plates spin in the cafeteria and revolutionized quantum electrodynamics. He studied ant behavior and discovered new mathematical principles. Here's his secret: every expert in every field has solved a problem you're struggling with. The art is translating their solution to your domain. This isn't learning, it's intellectual piracy. Third principle: active ignorance management. This will shock you. The most dangerous thing for a polymath isn't not knowing something. It's thinking you know something when you don't. The Dunning-Kruger effect shows that incompetent people overestimate their knowledge, while experts underestimate theirs. Polymaths hack this by actively cultivating what Socrates called learned ignorance. The more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. This isn't humility. It's strategic curiosity weaponization. Fourth principle: the 1% compound revolution. Here's the math that will change your life. If you improve just 1% each day, you don't get 365% better in a year. You get 3,778% better. That's the power of exponential growth applied to learning. But here's the secret sauce. While others try to improve 1% at one skill, polymaths improve 1% across multiple skills simultaneously. The compound effect doesn't just add up, it multiplies exponentially. Einstein called this combinatorial creativity. I call it becoming inevitable. Fifth principle: system beats goals. Goals are for amateurs. Polymaths build learning machines. Instead of, I want to learn Spanish, they create. I consume one Spanish podcast episode during my morning coffee, translate one song lyric during lunch, and have one 10-minute conversation before bed. The system runs automatically. Goals require motivation. Systems create inevitability. But here's where most people fail. They try to build the perfect system instead of starting with an imperfect one. Polymaths understand that a mediocre system that runs beats a perfect system that doesn't. Now we get to the real secret, the one that separates true polymaths from people who just know a lot of random stuff. True polymaths don't just accumulate knowledge. They weaponize connections. Here's what changed everything for me. I discovered that every breakthrough in history happened at the intersection of two or more fields. Not within them, between them. The printing press. Gutenberg combined wine pressing with coin stamping. The airplane. The Wright brothers merged bicycle mechanics with bird observation. The computer. Von Neumann fused mathematics with electrical engineering. Innovation lives in the gaps. But here's the problem. The education system teaches you to think vertically deep in one field when the future demands horizontal thinking connections across fields. Enter the Polymath's secret weapon, analogical thinking. This is how your brain becomes a connection machine. Level 1, pattern recognition. Start seeing the same patterns in different disguises. How is building a business like growing a plant? How is coding like composing music? How is leadership like conducting an orchestra? Level 2, principle extraction. Every field has core principles that apply everywhere. Physics has leverage. Biology has adaptation. Psychology has conditioning. Master the principles, not just the facts. Level 3, cross-domain. Problem solving. This is where you become dangerous. When stuck in one field, you steal solutions from completely different domains. Can't solve a marketing problem? Study how viruses spread. Can't improve your writing? Learn from film editing techniques. Level 4, synthesis creation. The highest level. You don't just connect existing ideas, you create entirely new ones by forcing unlikely marriages between distant concepts. Here's a real example. Naval Ravikant revolutionized startup thinking by combining evolutionary biology with economics. He didn't just learn both fields, he mated them to create new insights about how businesses evolve. Want to turn your brain into a connection machine? Stop taking linear notes. Start building what German sociologist Niklas Luhmann called a Zettelkasten, a living network of interconnected ideas. Instead of filing information in folders, you link every new idea to existing ones. Over time, you build a second brain that shows you connections you never would have seen otherwise. Luhmann used this system to write over 70 books and 400+ articles. But here's the kicker. He said the Zettelkasten was his real thinking partner. It didn't just store his ideas, it generated new ones. Here's something that would make Da Vinci weep with envy. You have access to more knowledge than every Renaissance master combined. The question is, are you using it like a polymath or like everyone else? Most people use the internet like a vending machine. They want quick answers to immediate problems. Polymaths use it like a cognitive enhancement laboratory. The modern polymath's tech stack. 1. AI as your research assistant. Stop Googling like an amateur. Use AI to explore ideas across multiple domains simultaneously. Ask, how would a biologist, physicist, and poet each approach this problem? Let AI show you perspectives you'd never consider. 2. Spaced repetition systems. Your brain forgets 50% of new information within 24 hours. Polymaths hack this with apps like Anki that surface information just before you forget it. This isn't studying, it's memory hacking. 3. Cross-domain curations. While others follow people in their field, polymaths curate content across domains. Follow physicists and poets, economists and artists, programmers and philosophers. Let the algorithm work for you. 4. The documentation revolution. Here's the secret. Teaching is the highest form of learning. Every idea you document, every connection you share, every insight you publish forces your brain to process information at a deeper level. Start a learning in public practice. Document your connections. Share your failures. Teach what you're learning. You're not just learning, you're building your external brain. But here's the warning. Technology can be your greatest enemy. The same tools that can make you a polymath can also turn you into a distracted intellectual zombie. The difference is intentionality. The Attention Fortress Protocol. Morning learning sessions before checking any feeds. Notification-free deep work blocks. Evening reflection instead of mindless scrolling. 1 day per week completely offline. Remember, polymaths don't consume content. They curate experiences. We've reached the end of our journey together, and now you face the most important choice of your intellectual life. You now possess what took me years to discover: the complete blueprint for cognitive liberation. The mindset that breaks mental chains. The system that makes learning inevitable. The connection protocols that turn you into an idea machine. The technology stack that gives you superhuman capabilities. But here's the brutal truth that separates the dreamers from the revolutionaries. Information without action is just sophisticated procrastination. Right now, your brain is flooded with possibilities. You're excited. You're inspired. You can see the vision of who you could become. But here's what happens next for 97% of people. Absolutely nothing. They close this video. They return to their comfortable cages. They go back to being intellectual slaves, and they rationalize it with the same tired excuses. I don't have time. I'm too old. I'm not smart enough. But you're not like 97% of people, are you? Because if you were, you wouldn't have made it this far. You wouldn't have absorbed these dangerous ideas. You wouldn't be feeling that electric sensation in your mind right now. The feeling of neural pathways rewiring themselves. That sensation, that's your polymath awakening. And here's what the system doesn't want you to know. This moment, right now, is the most dangerous moment of your life. Dangerous because you're about to choose between two radically different futures. Future number 1, the specialist's prison. You return to your narrow lane. You become very good at one small thing. You make a decent living. You retire safely. You die having touched a tiny fraction of your intellectual potential. Future number 2, the polymath's revolution. You break the chains. You refuse the boxes. You become a connection machine. You solve problems others can't even see. You create value that didn't exist before. You live as the fully expressed version of your cognitive potential. Here's the choice that will define everything. Will you start today, or will you start someday? Because someday is a lie. Someday is where dreams go to die. Someday is the graveyard of human potential. The polymaths of history had one thing in common. They started before they felt ready. Da Vinci didn't wait until he understood anatomy to start dissecting corpses. Franklin didn't wait until he mastered electricity to fly kites in thunderstorms. Curie didn't wait until radiation was safe to start her experiments. They started scared, uncertain, and underprepared. And they changed the world. Your transformation doesn't begin when you have the perfect plan, the ideal circumstances, or the right mood. Your transformation begins with the next thing you choose to learn. So here's my final challenge to you, future Polymath. In the next 24 hours, not next week, not next month, not when you have more time, what's the first skill you're going to attack? Pick something that scares you, something that seems impossible, something that makes other people say, "Why would you want to learn that?" Because that's where your revolution begins. The Renaissance minds didn't ask for permission to change the world. Neither should you. Your transformation starts now. What will you learn first? And more importantly, who will you become?